everybody, so welcome to my very first writing video. Yay! I'm super excited, as I am for most of my videos. I probably say that a lot. I'm excited. Well, I'm extra excited because writing. As much as I love reading and have enjoyed making all of my reviews, I'm really looking forward to doing writing videos because they are both something I love to do. I love writing, I love reading, and I really wanted this channel to be something where I brought those two things together. So today I'm going to start my series where I do videos on writing tips and things I've learned in my writing processes. Today is on planning. Now, if you had told me, I don't know, maybe half a year ago that I was going to start a YouTube channel and make a video on how to plan your book, I probably would have laughed in your face because I am not a planner whatsoever. My instinct in writing is to jump right in. I like the writing part of it, and I like to get straight to things that are interesting and just jump straight in. But when you start writing that way, it's really easy to get lost and not know where you're going with anything because you haven't planned anything out. So today I'm going to go through a few different methods and my process in planning. So there are a few different methods that I wanted to go over today. And my personal preference is still more of a loose leaf planning. I'm not a very structured planner. I don't like pulling up lists and making it block by block and having a more rigorous way of doing things. I still keep it fairly open-ended because a lot of the things that I need to figure out does have to happen while I'm actually doing the writing. For example, figuring out a lot of character personalities, I have to write them. I have to meet them on the page. Sometimes I have a more general idea of what their characters are first off, and it's always good to have a little idea of their character so that your personality doesn't just bleed right out. You want some variety there. It's always good to draw from people around you, I think, from people that you know, kind of gauge what their personalities are and input that into your writing. Drawing from outside sources is always a very key point in writing. So generally what I'll do is I'll start with my idea, whatever idea it is. However big or however small, you can build a whole plot or a whole world based on just one little thing. One of my current novels, the whole idea that has sprouted into like this 7-novel series, right? This whole universe, really, it all stemmed from one idea of just a hairstyle, something really simple, and that soon developed into a whole culture, and that soon developed into a whole planet, and those planets soon developed into other planets. The more ideas you generate, the more that will come. It's a very fluid process. Now, sometimes it's very hard to generate ideas, and when it is hard to generate those ideas, it is always very important to, again, draw from outside sources. What helps to motivate me in writing is write down what ideas you do have. That has helped me so much. Whenever I come up with a new idea or a scene for one of my books, I write it down in my notes app or in one of my journals. I write it down somewhere. I get it down, and then I don't forget it for later. And as I see the idea and as I'm writing it out, just that little snippet or that little scene, it can unfold into more than what it would have been just tumbling around in my head. Because of our flawed memories, it's not going to be as fresh to me several months later when I've probably forgotten half of what that idea could have been, rather than writing it immediately first. So that has definitely helped me, simply writing things down as soon as I come up with them. I've thought of so many different plots and scenes and titles and all kinds of different things just from writing things down, especially at that golden period right before you sleep when you're getting ready for bed and your brain's just totally overactive and you have all these golden ideas, but you never remember them in the morning unless you just write them down. That has helped. Another very important thing with ideas is, again, drawing from outside sources. So I will often read a lot of novels in whatever genre I am currently writing. And not to say just ripping off people, that's no bueno, right? but it generates a sort of aesthetic and things you like in other people's books, different plots and character dynamics, things you like and things you might not like and want to do differently in your own novel. If you have a book based on a certain culture, then you should research that culture, watch movies or shows or content that is surrounded with that culture. It really helps you to envision it and be able to draw better from it and know what you're talking about when you're writing. I don't do a lot of research for my novels, nothing super in-depth, but envisioning and that part of the planning is definitely a help. As well as boarding things. I make so many Pinterest boards. Probably too many with way too many pins, which if you want to follow me on Pinterest, the link will be in the description below and you can check out some of my boards for both books and the books I'm writing. Regardless, it has very much helped me to envision things and create the aesthetic that I want. I can also pin different prompts and dialogue ideas that I want to on there. Generally get an idea for certain scenes and the overall book, certain settings. It's very helpful to have those visions in your brain and that overall kind of feel that you want. Because you want your readers to be able to read your book and imagine it like it's a movie. That's one of the best things about reading is when the words kind of disappear and you're seeing it all in your head. And when a book doesn't give you that, it's just so disappointing. In your general descriptions and how you are portraying things to the readers is so important. They really want to feel what you're trying to give them. So knowing what you're describing, how you want it to look, definitely helps. So Pinterest boarding helps as well as music. Now I'll listen to a lot of music, different types for my different novels, which again, I am also on Spotify, and if you want to check out my Spotify, the link will also be in the description below, so you can kind of listen to some of the playlists I have also for my books. I find it very helpful to listen to different music while I'm writing. For example, if it's a fantasy novel or set in a more classical period, I will listen to more Celtic or classical music, more violin, piano, etc. I also have one that's more of an Arabian style setting, Middle Eastern, desert sort of culture, and so I listen to a lot of music from that culture, and I love listening to it. It's very fun. So like putting together all of the images in one board, it also helps get what mood you want for your novel as you're writing. Now, listening to it while writing is generally what I like to do. I like having it in my brain as I'm writing down the words and getting what mood I want, but it could also be very distracting, so it just depends on your personal preference. So there are so many different methods that people use to actually get down their ideas and to generate more content, but those are some of my preferred methods. There are a lot of different options, however. You can journal. There's again free writing, which is more my past method of just going right into it and writing whatever I feel like and getting a feel for it with the words on the page, which for a lot of things I still prefer that, but you definitely need a general idea for plot, setting, and the base structure. Now, another thing that I found has really helped me is gaining different perspectives. So I'll often find people to tell about my writing, generally friends and siblings, to tell them my ideas and to explain things so that they can tell me that's a terrible idea. And that is so helpful because I never would have realized it. You kind of need that constructive criticism sometimes. You need that fresh perspective to help you realize what things will work and what things won't work. And if someone was reading this, how would they react to it? Talking through your plot and some of your ideas and structures, people can see holes in your story that you as the writer and the thinker may not have seen before. Now, it's important to be respectful on both sides, I will say this, but it also helps to have that even if it hurts our souls sometimes. Another thing is asking defining questions. Whether it's someone else is or you are asking yourself. Some people will write down lists with simple questions about a certain thing, whether it be plot, a character, or animal, just whatever idea. And sometimes that is helpful because it forces you again to think and see the holes, inconsistencies that in your own head or simply writing it, you may not be able to see originally. Now, that can be a help, but at the same time, you don't want to box yourself in. This has always been one of my personal drawbacks and why it took me so long to realize the importance of planning, because I never like forcing myself into anything. I like keeping things open and free and not trapping myself in any way, as that can sometimes happen if you over plan. I feel like there's definitely a point where you plan too much, and there's definitely a point where you don't plan enough. Though I feel like it's easier to not plan enough than it is to over plan, because you kind of have to plan a lot. And for some people, it's just better if they plan everything. It's simply not my preference. Now, it definitely depends on whether you would like to plan more and have more of those structured lists and write out all those questions and force yourself to think in that way, or if you want more of a loosely planning, keeping most of the ideas in your head and finding them coming out on the page and just getting general ideas and feels for things. I am kind of a happy medium at the moment. I write down some things like certain dynamics or specific ideas that I have that I want to incorporate into things, especially scenes. I really like writing down scenes because if I write down some of the scene ideas I have before they happen in the book, it really gives me a pre-taste and kind of melding out these characters and what I want them to be doing, how they will act with each other before they might even meet in the first draft of the actual novel itself. Here I have one of my planning pages for one of my novels, and I have different scenes that I've written down, different pictures, sort of pre-fan art, and I've written down the base plot. Now, this is something I don't very often do. I don't usually write down the whole plot, but it does really help with the base structure. If you're ever lost in the story, you don't know what's happening, it definitely helps to have it right all there, so you can go back and reference it and see, oh right, this needs to happen. I've never been a fan of the beginning, middle, end structure for plotting. Personally, I just really don't like that method. It always chafed me because I think there are just so many different elements to writing and to a novel. You need different key points. It's good to decide for you personally what those key points are going to be, when you want them to happen, how much time will pass, and where the character is mentally during these points. It's all very useful in that regard. Now, that's kind of my personal views and just some different methods of planning, but soon in the next video we are going to be talking about something else, maybe setting, perhaps characters, one of the next steps. And that'll probably be more in depth than this one is, because this is just very basic. I will also be doing a video on different tools you can use that'll help with planning. For example, when I use this campfire, and that has helped me, and there are some other resources and tools as well for writers that I will delve into later. But for now, I must bid you adieu. Goodbye!